We also asked the question to rank the relative contribution of stakeholders to reducing UK transport emissions. And to be fair, the government does take a quite leading position in that, ahead quite a number of the other groups that could be doing something, only just behind the European government. So it's not all bad news, but there's a clear message coming out from our members. We're really looking for more leadership. Just on another point, about 65% agreed with the slowdown into the introduction of biofuels following the Gallagher review, looking at the sustainability issue. And 57% think that the current focus on electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles is justified. So, interesting trend there. Another clear point that came out was about this issue over sectorial targets. 91% of our members want a target for road transport emissions in the UK. Not good enough just to have the European legislation, which was interesting. Another important point, we don't really want the government to pick the technology winners. As I described earlier, perhaps they're not best placed to do that. Maybe it's the market that should decide, or the technology itself. But 25% also want government to support what we will call a wider technology portfolio. Also, very great support for a 2020 new car CO2 limit, the European number of 95 gram per kilometre or less. Let's remember what representation we have in our group. There's a lot of automotive sector people in our group. They're all quite committed to this number, and I think you'll hear later as to how much work is going on to address those kind of targets, which are massive challenges for the industry. Having said that, about a third of our members think the 2015 130 gram target will not be met. So that's another challenge for the automotive industry.
No, that's good.
We got somebody else in the room.
How's it going, Martin?
Forget to switch the microphone off somewhere. Another interesting point here, 75% want car advertising rules strengthened to encourage sales of low-carbon vehicles.
Are you? Go and sit and have a listen.
Can we switch that one off? Thank you. Very good. So, we also asked questions on relative ranking of policy options to reduce emissions, and top one to come out was more measures to reduce new car emissions. What can we do? What sort of things can we bring in to support that? Interestingly, right down at number 7 was price road use. Maybe that's not the favourite one at the moment, but this is just the survey of our members on what they saw as the most important criteria. Just on to a couple of successes that we've had and a move forward. You're all aware of the label that was introduced by the partnership very successfully, which I'll give an update on how that's going in a moment. But we're looking to label nearly new vehicles, which will commence in 2009, just announced by the new minister. It complements the new car label, which is now in 91% of showrooms, which is great. It addresses vehicles up to 2 years old. Older vehicles can be labelled, but at the dealer discretion. And our target in our first year is that this is covered by about 1,200 dealers in total. It's going to be funded by Action on CO2, and we're going to have a publicity campaign as well. And it roll out from about July. So when you go to buy your nearly new car, you should ask, where's the label? Maybe we can get these implemented perhaps faster than we did the initial label. Although, as I'll show you, on the existing label, on our survey, we're getting increasing penetration into the market and customers have an improved awareness. This data on the left here shows the percent recalling the label from when it was introduced in 2006 to this year in 2009. And as you can see, there's a steady increase in both new owners and new intenders, people who are about to buy a new car, who are actually aware of the label and what it means. I think the data on the right, a question how important, if at all, was the car labelling helping you to choose the make or the model of your car, is fairly consistent with many surveys that show environmental issues are perhaps less of an issue than fuel price issues. And although 70% of purchasers or intended purchasers say that the label is very important or fairly important, the percentage has dropped slightly as the fuel price has dropped. And we must be aware that although we're trying to encourage consumers to take note of the low carbon agenda, often the key parameter is the price that they get hit with. It's very important. Something else I want to introduce today is what we call the technology challenge, stimulating opportunities for small and medium enterprises. We in the UK, I think, have a reputation as great inventors. We have great ideas, new processes, new products that we see as having good potential. Perhaps one thing we're not quite so good at is innovation. That is turning that invention into a commercially successful product. And what we're going to do from the Low Carbon Vehicle Partnership is offer an opportunity for those new inventors seeking the best, and we're going to seek the best innovative on-vehicle ideas for reducing car CO2. It must be commercially deployable in 3 to 5 years and compatible or integratable with existing infrastructure. And we've joined in this with the Institution of Mechanical Engineers. And what we're going to do is, from this competition, pick 10 winners on various criteria and enable their ideas to be showcased to an innovation executive of automotive technical experts and directors. They'll be invited to a seminar of also clean tech investors, so a source of funding, and those whole winners, again, profiled and publicised. Obviously, there'll be an expert independent peer review process, gives them excellent feedback, and hopefully will allow them to progress these great ideas. The Low Carbon Vehicle Partnership itself is not a funder of innovation. There are other bodies that do that within the private-public partnership, but we can do our bit from the Low Carbon Vehicle Partnership, and this is what we're looking to do. Just want to finish off with a final statement about this progress through partnership and accelerating a sustainable shift to low-carbon vehicles and fuels in the UK. As you can see here, we have a very broad representation within the government and public sector, the auto and energy industries, NGOs, research and academic people, fleets and transport operators. My own personal view is we're not going to make progress unless we all work together and we solve our common problems and we find ways forward. And we have a certain amount of work to do to change attitudes as well. We need to change the attitude from carbon is your problem to carbon is my problem and I can do something about it. Until we do that, we're probably not going to make as much progress as we need to. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.